Welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, is the best way for you to exit your highly appreciated business, real estate, or other asset. I'm your host, Brett Swartz. Each episode, I am joined by some of the best real estate, financial, wealth, and business minds in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. Hey, I'm excited about our next guest. He's going to help us bridge the gap between two worlds of commercial real estate investing and talk about a journey about how he just started his 506C investing platform, and also he has a tremendous background in the corporate world as well as the commercial real estate world. In fact, he was inspired in 2013 to start his own company, which focuses on aggregating capital for the purpose of investing in real assets such as smaller apartment communities, as well as mobile home parks. And he also has a focus on ATM machines, which is going to be really interesting. Please welcome to the show with me, Billy Keels. Hey, Billy, how you doing?
Hey, Brett, man, it's nice to see you, and glad we're going to get a chance to share another conversation, man.
Absolutely. I had a pleasure to be on your show, your podcast, which we can plug right now as well. What's the name of that podcast?
The Going Along podcast with Billy Keels. And yes, you were our guest, episode number 67. So everyone should definitely check that out, where you left lots and lots and lots of knowledge. So
excellent. Absolutely. Well, let's dive right into your story. Would you give us a little bit more about your background and your current focus?
Yeah, sure, man. Happy to talk about that. So, as you mentioned before, so I'm a guy from the Midwest originally who is now calling Spain home. And I've been over here now for the last 15 years in Spain and the last 20 years in Europe. And basically had a chance to work and travel throughout some 58 different countries. That was phenomenal when I was living in the U.S. And then I moved to Paris, France. I was there for quite a while, for about a year, and then moved down to the south of France, and then moved to Italy for a while. Got married in Spain in 2008. A couple kids, and so I am a father, husband, and someone who's still working in the corporate world. Have been doing enterprise application software sales, so pretty demanding day job, and have fallen in love, as you mentioned before, since 2013 with investing long distance. So living wherever you want to live in the world, I believe you can do that and be able to invest where it makes sense for you and your plan. And I've really fallen in love with real assets. So I'm sure we're going to get a chance to talk a little bit more about that during our conversation.
Absolutely. I love the W-2 corporate gig you're still doing, right? And investing and the podcast and the father, right? And married, right? So there's a big misconception of you can't do it all, right? I can't go start my 506C. I can't still be in the corporate, high demanding job and then still invest in real estate. So we're going to dive into those secrets here in a minute. But before we go there, I believe, Billy, we've all been given certain gifts in this life. Some people call them superpowers. Some people call them strengths. I want you to go back maybe to the high school days, maybe the college days, right? And I want you to picture yourself and someone speaking into your life, and they're saying, Billy, you have these gifts or these strengths. You should really, you kind of had an epiphany moment. Oh, yeah, maybe I do. That's maybe what I've been given. So I believe these are God-given gifts. Again, some people call them superpowers. So I'm curious, what is that one or two strengths or gifts that you believe you were given? And how does that help how you help people today?
Yeah, so I think I love that question, by the way. It's just phenomenal. And first of all would be as a kid growing up, and if I look back on my high school self from where I am today, I was given a gift that I did not realize when I was moving around or when our parents moved us around. And number one, that was having the ability to recognize the situation and be able to adapt. Right. And so my parents really were big believers in putting us in situations which were different, taking us out of our comfort zones. And as a result, I felt really uncomfortable about that as a child. But as of today, it's one of the biggest advantages or gifts that I have, right? So being able to recognize the situation and adapt to that situation. And then number two, I would say, is being able to be someone who connects other people. So it's something that I have, maybe that's a derivative of being able to get into a place, recognize, adapt, is recognizing where you can connect multiple people that are looking for similar things, different things, but more than anything else, they're going to be able to add value to one another. So those are the two that come off the top of my head right now.
Excellent. Yeah. Adaptability and the connection as well. And as a part of that, I think I read in your bio, you speak 5 different languages, right? And incredible. And by the way, what are these 2 worlds? Well, part of the world's Europe and the other part of the world is United States, right?
Yep.
And I think
Yep.
you're originally from the Midwest, Billy.
Yep.
And so that's kind of a unique part of that whole story as well. You want to just touch on how those 2 worlds are kind of colliding for you and helping people connect commercial real estate investing.
Yeah, sure. So I guess at its core, those two worlds connected, and the best representation of that is our children, right? My wife is from Europe, I'm from the United States, and our children are fortunate enough to be able to share those multiple cultures, different continents, and languages. Now, I took a bit of a harder route to learn 5 languages. I've also made lots and lots and lots of mistakes. As a result, sometimes I say I've made millions of mistakes to be able to get to a level of fluency in those 5 different languages. So I guess I'm not really afraid to make mistakes, and I really want to be able to learn as much as possible, as quickly as possible. And and by being able to do things, be able to work through things, and I'm a recovering perfectionist, right? So that's something that's also pretty unique, I would say.
Absolutely. So let's dive right into some of those secrets, by the way, of getting out of your own way, right? Maybe delegating, maybe building a team, or
Yeah,
just starting things, right? When others would say there's reasons not to start, right? Kind of my story. I had 5 kids, right? Two
yeah,
podcasts, commercial real estate broker, deferred sales trust, capital gains tax founder on that side of things. And there's a lot of ways I could say, I can't do that, or it's too much, but I imagine you too as well, multiple languages. So connect the dots of what's the best secret that you found, Billy, to be able to do more, right? What are those false beliefs that you had to overcome, right? And
yeah.
what can you share with our audience today about that?
So I'm a big believer in the power of and just as you said, I'm doing this and doing that. I'm working a corporate job and being a father and a husband and building my own business and helping investors, et cetera, et cetera. So, and I think because of that, I am constantly focused on what are the things that I can do to stretch myself, right? And we talked about the 5 languages before, and now it is about what can I do to really go out and help to solve problems for my investors in the evening, and for the clients in the multinational that I work for during the day. And I guess one of the things that I'm very fortunate because of this power of is over the last 25 years, I've worked in very demanding sales and sales leadership roles in some of the market leading companies in the software space and in the hardware space. And I've been given access to some of the best trainings, done it in Europe, Middle East, and Africa, done it in Latin America, worked in roles all around the globe. And so what I've started to realize, Brett, is that having had this opportunity and have this amazing training and access to some of the world's brightest people, I'm now using those same skill sets to actually go out, listen to my investors, be able to help solve the problems that they're looking for. And they're not just money problems, right? Sometimes people talk about it like when you're getting a return, it's just the best financial return. And it's really not that. It's about being able to listen, sit down, understand what the investors are potentially looking to do, and being able to come up with a plan that is unique to their specific situation. And so when I look back on that, it maybe even touches on some of the superpower that we talked about before, is being able to leverage all of those 25 years of experience and be able to go out and help in my own business solve the problems and situations for my current investors and prospects.
Excellent. So taking that training, taking that knowledge, taking that diverse background of different places, different folks, different even software and hardware, and then saying, hey, how do I apply all of that's been invested into me, right, to now apply it to commercial real estate investing, which is my favorite.
Hmm.
So let's dive right into that. So walk
Yeah.
us through this. You just got the 506 C. Walk us through our listeners for what that is, and the vision for how you want to help others invest in commercial real estate.
Yeah, sure. So, and I'll tell you about what the 506C is, and also too, and I know one of the things that you'll talk about. We're going to talk about some different examples of my life examples, right? We're not giving anybody advice or anything like that. We're just talking through examples. So, anything that we're talking about, definitely go and make sure that you're talking to your teams so that they can help you to once again contour whatever issue you're trying to solve and make sure that it's specific to you. That's the first point. The other thing is also, I'm someone who has been fortunate enough not only to be able to actively take a leadership role, or as a general partner, a key partner for something like a 506c, and I'll talk about what that is in just a second. But also too, as a high paid salary earner during the day, one of the things that's really important to me is making sure, Brett, that not only myself, but helping others to realize that your capital should always be on the treadmill. Like, it should always be working out no matter what. And so one of the other things that I've actually found out about over the last couple of years is passive investing. So I choose to both actively invest, so and bringing forward certain syndications, as well as invest with other people, so that once again, my capital is constantly moving. So if we come back to what your question was initially, kind of what's on the radar and what are we doing? And you also mentioned the 506c. So for those of you that are not familiar, a 506c is an exemption for a private placement for accredited investors. And they're accredited investors. There are, I think, 3 different definitions of them. Once again, you'll want to look this up. It's actually on the irs.gov website. But basically, someone who has more than, or earns more than $200,000 a year if they're filing individually, $300,000 as a couple, and for the previous 2 years, and is expected to do that in the current year. That's one way. The other is by net worth. And so you can also be an accredited investor by being someone who has over $1 million worth of net worth, not including your primary residence. And then there are some new ways that you can do that through taking tests and things like that. But like I said, go look all that up on the IRS website, and there's lots of information around what accredited investors are and how you achieve that status on Google. So that's the one thing. Then you also mentioned specifically, towards the end of last year, finished the first part of a $1.5 million raise, which closed at the end of the year. And we were doing that, helping people that are interested in being able to participate in socially conscious investments and being able to create double-digit returns for themselves, and also being able to really help to make the tax obligation around ordinary income more efficient. Now, there are some ways that we've gone about doing that, but that is absolutely one of the most exciting things that we did to wrap up the end of 2020.
So let's dive into an actual example now. I don't know if you've closed on any of that those funds for those deals for the 1.5 million on anything yet, but or what you're seeing
Yes.
right now with opportunity. Can you give us kind of an example there?
Yeah, sure, Brett. So what I actually thought that one of the things that this would help, or would be really attractive to people that were high wage earners, right? People that are earning multiple 6-figure salaries, is there's typically, you're going to find that there's a desire to want to create returns, and those returns are, depending on what the risk adjusted rate is for that person, if you can do an acceptable double-digit return, that's fantastic. But what we also found was there are very few opportunities in the marketplace where you can also help on earned income or ordinary income. And so this particular opportunity really helps you to achieve double-digit returns, and at the same time, it can help you to minimize or right-size your tax obligation on the earned income. And so those are for the earned, for the high wage earners, and then also too for those people that had money that is locked up in 401ks or IRAs, which once again, as you know, Brett, and your audience knows, that's also ordinary income, because once you take that money out, then you're taxed at ordinary income rate, which is typically the highest type of rate. So when we saw that there were people over 59 and a half specifically, was the most interesting, because there's not an additional 10% penalty. They're looking at these opportunities thinking to themselves, okay, well, excellent. So I have capital that I want to get out, and we'll use an example that's $200,000, right? Let's say that someone has $200,000. It's part of a larger portfolio. Or no, you know what? Since you're in California, let's use a California example, because I think this will be interesting. So let's imagine you have $5 million or $6 million in your IRA and 401k between them, and you decide, hey, listen, I want to bring $500,000 out and place it in an investment. Well, typically when you pull that $500,000 out, if you were to take it out at one time, of course you can pull it out as a gross number, and you can then place that somewhere else. But in the back of your mind, Brett, if you're living in California, right, you have the 37% before, and now looks like it's gonna go back to 39.6. But let's just say between state and federal tax, it's 50%, right? Does that sound
Yeah,
Reasonable?
capital gains tax depreciation recapture, depending on the stuff and depending on your income, it could, yeah, I'd say 30 to 50% is kind of the range.
Okay, perfect. So we're just going to use 50%. We're say 50% just to keep things very simple. So on that 500,000, you know that you're going to have a tax obligation of 250,000 because of the ordinary income tax. Well, if you are able to actually use that gross for that 500,000 and place it in the type of investment that will allow you to not only create a return, let's say you get a double-digit return on that 500,000, but most importantly, it's the type of opportunity that you would place it in would allow you to also be able to write off a large portion of that $250,000 because it's against ordinary income. So in essence, we're helping people that have a problem, which is, well, that would be a problem for that person that has money that's locked up in a 401k or an IRA that they would like to get access to, and they don't want to have the large tax penalty. And so this type of opportunity is one that is a solution for that particular type of person, right? It's not for everybody, but that person that is looking for that specific type of opportunity to gain access to funds that are in a 401k or an IRA, or maybe they're just a high wage earner and they want to be able to get better returns and not have to have the same tax obligation. So that's basically what we've been, what we closed at the end of last year and also focused on moving forward. So hopefully that example, Brett, was concrete enough, and at least from an example perspective, gives an idea.
Yeah, and the thought here is always to be increasing and adding to what I like to say the dream team, right? And every specialist in different areas in different times. By the way, Billy and I are both passive investors in multiple different deals with different operators, right? At different locations and different product types. We both love apartments. We both love mobile home parks. I also love assisted living, and now we're learning about ATMs, and I'm learning about laundromats a little bit too from another buddy of mine.
Okay.
But I want to focus here on ATMs because you have a little bit of experience in that. So walk us through just maybe one of the most served or understood strategies to invest in ATMs. What is it, and what are you seeing out there, and what should we know?
Yeah, exactly. So, and as an ATM, I am a passive investor, right, in these types of opportunities. So, and it's once again making sure that the capital is running and moving as much as possible, and having had access to other people that I didn't even know anything about ATMs, right? I was thinking to myself, well, I don't typically use ATMs a lot. Every once in a while I do, but I wouldn't consider myself to be a heavy user of ATMs. Although it's like everything else. Like my company owns a mobile home park, but what I want to be able to do is provide a service for someone and help someone to solve a particular issue. So for a number of people, especially in the United States, that are still using and continue to use, and the amount of money that we are continuing to print, it's no doubt that we're going to continue to use ATMs to access cash and a number of other things. But what I was looking for in my own particular portfolio, Brett, was something that could provide a solid cash flow, meaning that I could get receive capital, right? Receive cash flow on a monthly basis, and at the same time be able to look for strong tax benefits. And when you think about an ATM machine, really it is a real estate play at the end of the day, because you have a physical structure, a real asset that is sitting on a particular plot of land. And that plot of land, someone is receiving rent for it being on that land, right, in terms of payment. And then every time someone uses an ATM machine, there's typically at the bottom there, you see that transaction fee. Well, that transaction fee is then split between the operator, between the person that actually is using the space, and between someone like myself who's investing in these assets. So because it was something that I was looking for that part of my portfolio, Brett, the ATM machine was the ATM investment, right, was something that absolutely made sense for me in my situation at that point in time. And it's something that I'm really happy that I was able to take a part on. And every single month, I'm very happy that that is part of my portfolio.
Beautiful. Yeah, I have to pick your brain after the show and
yeah, definitely
see where to go with that. So now I want to connect the two worlds, right? The name of the show or the title of the show is basically building a commercial real estate investment bridge between two worlds. So part of its demographics, or part of its location, I guess I would say, right? Two continents, but also part of it too, as you probably know, and many of our listeners didn't keep on that, it's the W-2 world, right? And the 506(3) world. Not a lot of people have been able to do that, right? And so you're connecting and bridging these two worlds with kind of corporate, traditional 401ks, IRAs, maybe some kind of real estate investing, right? But now you're saying, no, I'm gonna do it, and go big on this. So connect just that the strategy and the vision there for the corporate person who wants to become wealthy using real estate.
Yeah. So, and I love that question. And just to kind of get to the crux of it. So, and as I mentioned, as someone who I am a happy corporate employee, right? And I think one of the reasons that you can be a happy corporate employee, because there are many people that love or really like the job, but at a certain point, because of so many different obligations outside of the job, it's almost like they dread going into the role every single day. And I guess one of the things I was in a similar kind of position, but it was more frustration because I was doing everything that I was supposed to do, right? Brett, I mean, I'd got the good grades. I was in the corporate roles. I was looking to be promoted and move up the org chart and all these kinds of things. But two things really made a huge, huge difference in my life. In 2000, when I was doing all the right things and putting my money in my 401k, all of a sudden the stock market kind of went down, right? For the 2000 bug or whatever. And it took a while to get back. And then around 2008, 2009, my portfolio just crashed. Like 33% of my portfolio value just tanked. And so I got hit in the gut. I was thinking to myself, I'm doing all the things that I'm supposed to do. I'm rising the corporate ladder. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm maxing out my 401k. I had my IRA, and the responses kept being, well, just hang on there. We're going to do some dollar cost averaging or average dollar costing and stuff like that. And I thought, well, hang on a second. I want to have more control. And so, like many people that I'm sure you've talked to have come across the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that completely changed my mind, right? Completely changed the mindset. And so afterwards, I thought, how can I do this so that I can still enjoy the job, because I enjoy being able to solve those huge enterprise-wide type of issues. And at the same time, how can I get more control over my financial life? And so when I read that, and I had my first exposure to real estate, because I don't come from a family where I had real estate or real assets was not even really there. Like being able to save was kind of like the big thing at that point in time. But then I started realizing, okay, well, let me learn more about this. And I started reading more books and listening to podcasts and getting involved in groups and starting meeting people in networks. And then I bought my first property, a small duplex, and then I bought another quadplex and another quadplex. And all of a sudden I started thinking, wow, if I actually use a lot of the things that I'm doing in my corporate life, the analysis, the team building, and making sure that this person's on the team and doing that while I'm living in Spain and the team is in the United States, and started realizing that we were creating strong cash flow, right? While I was working my day job. I mean, I've worked really, really long hours for a really long time, right? I'm not going to say that it's easy, would never pretend to, but you know what? When I realized that I can go into my day job because I want to go into the day job, because the things outside of the office, the financial life, it's prospering, right? I mean, working really hard, building the team, making sure that the team is constantly moving things forward. But now every day when I go into my corporate job, Brett, I go into the corporate job because I want to be there. And I don't worry about the fact that this has to be done and this other bill's happening and the other thing's happening, because the part of my portfolio that I actually control, and now I'm fortunate to be able to also help others that are investing with and alongside me, helping them to achieve their goals. It's just, it is at the end of the day, the power of and being able to do that, help other people achieve their goals, financial and otherwise, and still be able to work at a corporate job. I mean, it's something that I feel very, very fortunate to be able to do.
It's an entrepreneur's dream, right? I think it's the beauty of persevering and figuring a creative way, and then building that team, getting out of the way, delegating those things, right? And you got to really force the delegation, especially when you're in Spain and they're in the U.S. and you're setting the vision, right? You're shooting the strategy, and then you're finding the right team players to fit. I have assistants overseas right now as well as virtual assistants, right? And it's a world where it was new, and hey, by the way, Billy, I'm a control freak too, right? I want to be in control, but I had to learn to just let go and get out of my own way. And I like to say it like this: you got to learn to hire the who instead of being the how, right?
Yeah.
Too often we get stuck in what's called a procrastination cycle of
Correct.
always trying to just, do it ourselves, right? Oh, I
Yep.
can do it better than someone else. I can do it cheaper. No one
Yep.
else can do it as good as me, but you're limiting your ability to build your business, right? You might
Correct.
be you saving some income on your personal side, but you're not building that team and that business. So I think that's almost like a whole nother episode that we could go into just on that subject alone. But I want to touch on the Robert Kiyosaki part in the cash flow quadrant
Yep.
and Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yep.
If you haven't read the book, get the book tomorrow and read it. It's life changing for everyone I've ever hear about it. And
Yes.
essentially, there's 4 quadrants, and the question is, what quadrant are you in? Are
Mm.
you trading your time for dollars, or you're getting your dollars to give you time,
Yep.
right? And there's a business side, investor side, W-2 side, and self-employed side.
Yep.
And when you can start to move over your equity and move it into assets that are producing and get a diversified income stream coming in from multiple different places, whether it be apartment complexes, whether it be mobile home parks, whether it be ATMs, your W-2 job, your other business here, you start to diversify. Therefore, it takes that pressure off. And so, Billy, like he was saying on the W-2 part, he's not so concerned. I mean, he still loves it. He's doing it because he loves it, but he's
Mm.
not so concerned about having to count everything with the stock market and those investments because he knows he's got some financial freedom over here. Is that a fair summary, Billy?
It is. The one thing I would say, I would make a slight change. I don't love my corporate anymore, and if I said that, I shouldn't say that. It's a very strong thing. I really like it. Like I am a happy person. What I've realized, and this is also too part of the power of and is what I really love is being able to help my future investors. I really love being able to go out and network and build that part of my business. And so I am happy when I go into my corporate role because I choose to be there, not because I have to be there. And I think that's a huge difference. And also too, one of the things that sometimes happens, Brett, is when you're working in a corporate role, you just get into the rut and you forget that you can really be learning so many valuable skills that you can then use later. Like one of the things people have been freaking out with the whole pandemic and working remotely and things like that. I mean, I've been working remotely for the better part of 15 years, like in the corporate role. But because I've been doing that and working across Europe, Middle East, and Africa via phone, via Zoom, this whole transition, it wasn't difficult for me in my own business because we are between 2 continents and now have team members that are in 4 or 5 different countries, right? That are doing everything from helping me with the podcast to helping me with the bookkeeping to helping me with all of the things that I'm not best suited to do. Didn't really go through that whole suffering like that. I couldn't do it or I had to use technology because that's what I've been doing. And that's what part of what the corporate role allowed me to do is to be able to use these types of technologies in a better way to ultimately be able to better serve my clients.
Absolutely.
So
And make an impact, right? That's the key.
yeah,
You're taking the gifts and talents you've been given and you're going out and you're helping pull others up and make an impact for them. And so I love it, love it, love it. We're running out of time now. So we're going to move into the lightning round. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. Biggest frustration when it comes to capital gains tax deferral options. It could be 1031 exchange. It could be there's no good quality deals in opportunity zones anymore. It could be I didn't know about the Deferred Sales Trust, and now I do. Now I'm frustrated that I didn't know and I paid tax. So what's your biggest frustration when it comes to capital gains tax deferral options?
Yeah, I think just in general, when you don't know what you don't know, right? Before you and I had a conversation on episode 67 of my podcast, I didn't really know that much about the DST, right? As we talked about it at that point in time. So I think that's the biggest issue is when you don't know what you don't know, because then you can have major issues with your capital gains tax.
You got it. Great answer. I couldn't agree more. By the way, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com, learn about the Deferred Sales Trust and different options. Next question. Number 1 book you've recommended or gifted, Billy, the most in the past 12 months?
In the past 12 months in the past 12 months. Wow, good question. Okay. I'm just trying to think. Return to Orchard Canyon from Ken McElroy. In the last 12 months, in the last 12 months, that would be it.
Excellent. Great. Favorite leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
Start before you're ready.
It's just so true, right? Just
Start before you're ready. Yeah, just start before you're ready.
Go. What's the biggest obstacle you're currently facing right now?
Scaling my business at a way that is continuing to personalize every single interaction that we have. Yeah, it's scale. It's being able to scale in a way that is effective and efficient.
Effective, efficient, and still personalized for your clients and partners. Yep.
Yeah.
That makes I
Yeah.
totally relate. What's the biggest opportunity you see for the future of 2021?
Wow. And also being able to connect with more people. I mean, I just talked to you specifically about this energy play, and because of where I see that there are so many people that want to do things that are um, not just about the return, but doing things that are socially responsible. Being able to create a return, feel good about that, and also be able to help what I think is a group of people which are high wage earners, which most people think that there are no issues with high wage earners, but there definitely is. And I see an opportunity here to be able to help high wage earners not just earn more money, but be able to also keep more of their capital so that they can then go out and use their time in the way that they really want to use it.
Beautiful. Love it. Last question, and we'll wrap it up. And this kind of will hopefully encompass a little bit about your backstory, what you've persevered through, and all the accomplishments you've been able to do and achieve so far. And it's this: how do you stay centered, Billy, in your values? And how do you stay encouraged to reach for new massive goals?
So the number one thing that I do, and this is super tactical, very, very tactical. I mean, you could talk about the plans that you make for the year and looking at all the different axes. Now, this is something that I've started taking on board, but I really love spending the first hour of the day by myself. And I spend that first hour of the day going through Hal Elrod's Savers, and I've been doing that for I don't know how many years. And the reason for that is it allows me to set the day and the tone in the way that makes the most sense for me. And so that I mean that without a doubt is the first thing. And then the way that I stay grounded is I have two sons and a wife that really look and depend on me, especially my sons. I realize the importance of them now being 9 and 11 and the things that I do, whether I'm aware or not, that impact their lives. And so I'm very aware and conscious of the fact that they are now watching and repeating and doing things that I wasn't really aware of before. And the fact that I'm aware of that really helps to keep me grounded, to make sure that I'm focused on and doing the right things. Because at the end of the day, when life is, when I'm no longer going to be here, I want to know that I made the right impact on my children and also on my wife, that they look to say, wow, you know what? I'm really glad that dad and my husband was a part of my life for the amount of time that he was here.
Beautiful. Great way to end the show. And for our listeners who want to learn more about you, Billy, what's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, best place. I would love for people to connect with me on LinkedIn, and definitely let me know when you're watching on LinkedIn that you saw me here speaking with Brett on capital gains tax, the Solutions podcast. And I would love for you to be able to do that. I mean, if you can go to my website, billykeels.com. And if anybody wanted to know anything specifically about the energy stuff, please feel free to send me an email at energy@billykeels.com.
Beautiful. Well, thanks, Billy, for being on the show. I want to thank you for sharing a part of your story and giving us a lot of wisdom and a lot of inspiration. I want to encourage you to keep using the gifts of adapting and the gifts of connecting with others, right, to make a difference and impact in this world. And with that, I also want to thank our listeners for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. As always, we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust, or getting with Billy to invest in some ATMs, mobile home parks, multifamily, just may be the best way for you to grow your wealth. With that, please rate, review, subscribe, share this with somebody. It can be an inspiration to